Thank you, gentlemen. Ooh, that's loud. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we had good news this week. We get to take our 8th graders to camp. So, in a couple weeks, we're going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. One thing we could work out. So, I'm grateful that it's working it out. We want to have those kids bond together and see what happens. And thanks again for the $50. We're using it in a couple of weeks. That'd be good. We had a big event at our house yesterday. My great-grandson turned 5 this week. And it's been birthday all week long. A big dinner last night with relatives and friends. So he was bouncing pretty high. I imagine he'll be bouncing for several days. But it's so much fun. Who in here has ever been to Jerusalem? Let me see hands. Okay, a few of you. All right. I thought some of you had been. Yeah. You know, Jerusalem has kind of been, for centuries, the place that people go to connect with God. Isn't it interesting that the Muslims have built a big building there in Jerusalem to connect with God? This special place seems to be in a place that God has in His heart, because He has named it to be the place for His temple. And then for the New Jerusalem that's coming down out of heaven, same thing. It's kind of interesting. Do you remember? You probably do. Because some of you were probably there when Isaac was about ready to be killed by his father. You were there. Who was there? This guy over here. All right, just checking. Yeah. But on the Mount of Moriah, that was where Jerusalem finally turned out to be. The interesting thing, I think, is about and we're going to talk about the New Jerusalem today. And we've been looking at heaven and the different things that happen with that. And this city called the New Jerusalem. There was a song several years ago that was very, but, well, you know? I don't know. There's a lot of it. Anyway, this New Jerusalem has a specialized citizenship. Only special people get to go to that city, be a city, in that citizen of that city. And this is a city that's more dazzling and beautiful than anything the earth has ever seen. We're going to take a glimpse at it this week, today. Maybe get it done today. But the only people who can get into that city are people who have turned to Christ. They're the citizens of the city. Only Christians will be allowed to be citizens. Now, there are going to be other people there, but the only ones that are allowed in now are the Christians. Okay? So we'll get back to that in a few minutes. What do you know about the New Jerusalem? Over here, this side. Wake up. Yeah. Okay, it's what? 1,500 miles square high. A cube. All right.
Comes down out of heaven.
Comes down from heaven. All right, that's enough. You're awake. Now let's try this side. All right. What do you know? What? No sea. Too bad going to the beach. What else? No pain, no suffering. 12 gates.
I'll be there.
He'll be there. Jim's going to be just inside the gate to shake your hand when you come in. Okay. Will he be on the other side? Okay. Yeah. Interesting thing about this new city is this New Jerusalem is that it's going to come down to a new earth. Now, most of the time we don't hear that this whole solar system is going to just explode. And God's going to create a new heaven and a new earth. We've just been finishing studying planets in my science classes. And It's as the students are doing their presentations on their different planets that they were studying, it was coming through my mind that, this is such an intricate process that God developed for this whole solar system thing. And then the scripture says it will disappear with a loud noise and fire. And so, wow. What will happen? Is he going to have a new sun and a new moon and a new earth? I think so. Because the scripture talks about a little bit about that. But why would we have to do that? Well, we'll find out here in a minute. In Revelation, excuse me, I'm having a little trouble this morning. In Revelation chapter 20, we're going to look at 21 and 22 and then bounce around. Okay, so just let you know that. In 21, verses 1 to 3, John says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also, there was no more sea. Too bad. Sorry. I know. No navy, yeah. And then John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Then I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself shall be with them and be their God. Pretty clear declaration. So heaven is the home of God. Did you know that? And great hosts of angels. Now, some people think that heaven is in another dimension. The scripture always says it's kind of up there and kind of to the north. Nobody really knows for sure where it is. And as we were studying the solar system this last couple weeks, I was trying to figure out where could heaven be? Way beyond all those stars, all those planets that the other galaxies that the Hubble telescope has discovered. And, it's mind-boggling. Where could it be? I'm not even going to worry about it, actually, because there's going to be a new heaven and earth, and we're going to just take care of us. So we don't have to worry about all that, which I think is pretty good. Because this special place is going to be the home of the bride of Christ. Now, what's the bride of Christ? We talked about that earlier. The church. Yes, the church. And so the day will come when that heavenly city comes down. And when that happens, well, I don't want to get to that yet. I forgot. And we're talking about exploding this thing. Yes, the scripture says that the heaven and the earth need to be purified before he can bring that city down. And somebody said, well, what do you mean? Heaven purified? Yes, because Satan has access to God to accuse the brethren of the things that he's trying to get them in trouble with. And he still has access to that until you get to this point at the end of the millennium, when in Revelation chapter 20 it says, Satan himself is cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Once that happens, then we see the New Jerusalem. Now remember, thousands of years ago, I don't know how many thousand, God cleansed the earth once before, by a... Oh, you're alert today. All right. I woke you up, huh? All right. This side is good. No, it was about even. I was listening. About even. Yeah. Remember Genesis 11 said that the earth was corrupt before God and the earth was filled with violence? And so the world that then existed, it perished, being flooded with water. But the heavens and the earth, which now exist, now think about this, that one was flooded with water. But the heavens and the earth, which now exist, are kept in store by the same word, the word that caused the damage before, by the same word, reserved for fire until the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. The heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with a fervent heat, both the earth and the works that are in it, and will be burned up. That's in 2 Peter chapter 3. The New Jerusalem then can come down. Because now as we remember that, and you know this, that no sin is allowed in the city. This great city of God coming down in Revelation 21:11, it says it glows with an internal light. It's a real city, has dimensions, as you said, 1,500 by 1,500 by 1,500 miles, or some people think it's a pyramid. You have the same measurements, but in a different shape. Well, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure. I've been thinking that one through. I've always been taught it was a cube, but there's several scholars that seem to think it could be a pyramid.
No.
I see a yes, sir. The architect.
It's going to be a new heaven and new earth. And where is the new city coming down from?
Where is it coming from? Well, here's what I think. All right, I don't know where it's coming from, except that we know that it's in heaven, and Jesus gone there to prepare mansions for us. All right. And then some people say that in the millennium it's going to come down from heaven, but not get on the earth yet. And that in the millennium people would be going back and forth. I don't know. I don't think that's true, but that's one of the views. Where is it coming down? It's coming from heaven. That's where Jesus went. Wherever Jesus is now, up in heaven, that's where he's going, because he said, "I'm going to prepare a place for you." Remember? And no. You're getting me off track. I'm going to go back to my lesson. All right. I may get this done because this is actually probably going to be a 2-week lesson before we get done here, and that's okay. Let me ponder that. Maybe I'll come back to that. All right. Anyway, John gave us the best he could do in the language he could speak. All right. And sometimes we wish we had more information. And but the interesting thing is that here's what he said in Revelation 21, verses 16. The city is laid out as a square, and its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with a reed, 12,000 furlongs. Its length, breadth, and height are equal. Then he measured the wall, 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of an angel. So the size of the New Jerusalem is tremendous, 1,500 miles by 1,500 miles by 1,500 miles. Its wall, 144 cubits, which is 216 feet. And the construction of its wall was of jasper. Now, can you visualize such a city? I can't, until I start getting more details. Okay, then I can visualize. Like some people think it's a cube, some think it's a pyramid. But the interesting thing is that the one that thinks it's a pyramid is because of the wall, which is 216 feet high. Because they say that would be, I don't know. It would be, let me see if it's because it's hard to visualize a cube-shaped object of that size having a wall that high around it. However, a pyramid could have a base of 216 feet high with 12 gates through which they could come in. So, I don't know. Now, here, architect, now listen, Mr. Architect back there. All right? This is what I've heard. Architects have calculated that the enormous size of the New Jerusalem would easily provide a mansion of over a half mile in length and breadth to every believer from Adam till now. Now that blows my mind. It doesn't matter. From now, well, they've got a guesstimation on that, which I'm not going into because I don't have it down. But there's a guesstimation. So whether we accept that it's either a pyramid or a cube or whatever, it doesn't make any difference because the size is amazing. The area of it, just think about it, is larger than India. Now if you put it in the United States, it would touch the tip of Maine to Denver. You kind of get that picture in your mind of the map of the United States. more than half of the United States. As far as the size of, from the tip of Maine to the tip of Florida, tip of Maine to Florida to Denver. Okay, so you're talking, yes, sir. Does not reach Fresno. Aren't we glad we don't have to worry about that? Because we don't have to worry about the sea either. Okay? Yeah. So your boat. It says from the shore of the Atlantic Ocean westward to Denver. So if you, it takes a while just to fly over that space. Until there's a new Earth. No, I think you're going to walk. Okay. But you know one thing about this, getting back to it, is this wall. This 216-foot wall. It's a jasper wall, made out of jasper. Now, I've been trying to find out what jasper really is. And so I haven't found it yet. Some people think it's a clear rock like quartz, where you can see through it. Some people think it's kind of diamond. Some people think it's just translucent. I don't know what it is. Some people think it's yellow, and some people say it's a light green. It might be clear. I don't know.
It's like clear glass.
Like clear glass. Yeah. Well, okay. It's transparent. Apparently, you can see through it. And the interesting thing about it is, why would that wall be transparent? The city glows through the wall. You can see that anywhere around. That, remember that there's the light is in the city. That city is, it's just like a city on top of the hill. Remember they talked about that? And they can see it from everywhere because of the glow that comes from within. It's pretty interesting. So let me get this thing. Here's the first thing about the jasper wall. In Revelation 21:11 and 12, it says, "Her light was like almost a precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and she also had a great high wall." We may not know exactly what color it is, but we do know that you will be able to see it from a long distance. Okay. And though the wall is real, it's also symbolic. The purpose of the wall is not to preserve the city against invaders. Okay. For God will have no new enemies on this earth. But being that high, it signifies that no one will ever enter the city apart from God's grace. The wall is too high, think about it, it's too high to be scaled by human effort. And the only portals into it are 12 guarded gates. So it's symbolic that the requirement for admittance is salvation. And no one who has rejected God's plan will be able to go in because salvation is the gift of God's grace. And it's a symbolic thing that we talked about the pearly gates, you know, going to heaven. Everybody talks about going through the pearly gates and who's there signing you in? St. Peter at the pearly gates. Not that way. Not that way. It's just it's a thing to understand that God is protecting His people.
The angels were going to be greeters.
No, it doesn't say they're going to be great. It just says they're going to be at the gate, guarding the gates. At the gates. At the gates. I think maybe they're just saying, "Welcome, welcome, Steve." That's right. Never mind. That's the same way it's happened to me all week. I'm not worried about it. Okay. Let's get to jewels. What kind of jewels? Reflect the colors. And some people think all the rainbow. So let me give. I do have some colors on this. All right. So, all right. Jasper could be a light green or yellow. The sapphire is a sky blue or azure. Chalcedony is a combination of green and blue. Emerald bright green. Sardonyx, red and white. Chrysolite, golden yellow. Sardius is reddish. The chrysolite is golden yellow. The beryl is sea green. Topaz could be yellow green or transparent. Chrysoprasus, whatever that is, golden green. The jacinth, violet, and amethyst, either rose red or purple. Do you see one predominant color in there? Green. Now, why would it be green? That seems to be it seems to have kind of a greenish tint. Can you think of anywhere else in Scripture that talks about green? Green pastures, God's green pastures. When he looked at the throne of God, what was behind him?
Sea green.
An emerald rainbow. So I think this is, you have to put it together. See how it is. I think when all of those colors are in the here at the base, at the foundation of this city, and God's glory coming through, one fantastic thing that would be, I'd be better than the Northern Lights. It would be awesome, just awesome. And not only that, but on those stones, there are inscribed the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Why are they there on there? Foundation of the church. Because these are the men who first proclaimed the message of the risen Christ. These are the ones that Jesus said, go world and spread the gospel. And these guys did. Faithfully. To the fact that almost all of them were martyred. All but John were martyred. Interesting. So their name is inscribed. Each one, I think that's one. Okay. Now how about these pearly gates? Let's look at Revelation 21, verse 12 and 21. In the walls of the heavenly city are 12 gates of pearl, and they will never close. Also, she had a great high wall, we talked about that, with 12 gates and 12 angels at the gates. Names written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 gates are 12 pearls. Each individual gate was of one pearl. I thought, man, what size of an oyster does that mean? And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. You ever seen these great pictures? These big clamshell, the big clams. The museum down in LA has one up and on this landing. But I thought, wow, that thing is huge. But what size clam would you have to get a pearly gate? Wow. No, he just said, there's one. Okay. They say that these gates of pearl suggest salvation by grace, because Jesus, just like the oyster is wounded in order to make the kind of irritated by the sand that gets in the shell, it said because Jesus was wounded for our transgression. They're making in Isaiah 5:53, and wicked men have rejected him and crucified him and made salvation possible. But here it is, all who look forward to going through those pearly gates. What did Jesus say in John 10? He said, I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved. The gates are open all times, every direction. Salvation is open freely to anyone at this point. Again, symbolic. And the angels are there. Wonderful contrast. Here's another thing about these angels, besides greeting them. What happened at the Garden of Eden? What was that angel supposed to do? Guardian with a flame. Yeah. He kicked people out. Do not come in. That's what I think. You were right. They're greeters. Welcome. Glad you could come in. That's what I think. So the access is open. Why are the 12 tribes of Israel inscribed on the gates? Let's say it, Linda.
On the tabernacle, it was created with 12 tribes for them, the tabernacle, the presence of God. So,
These are the people that God gave the message to spread to the world. The Jews were the keeper of God's message. We call them the chosen people, right? And if they did what they were supposed to do, that they were God's people. He always protected them. Still does protect them. They're not on. They're just like us. They fail, and they failed a lot. Except there's a lot of theirs was recorded. Ours isn't. Okay. Remember that the scripture says salvation is of the Jews, and that because of them we have salvation. And so, then we go to the street, made of pure gold, in verse 21. The street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. We're not going to get very far. Years ago, you couldn't even think about this being transparent gold. But you know what's happened? I read this actually in the paper about 3 or 4 months ago. In one of the Muslim countries, I think it's Qatar, is that they say it? Qatar. Where they're building one of these tall skyscrapers. And when the sun hits it, it looks like it's gold. And I was reading that and I thought, that's interesting, because apparently what they've done is that they've been able to get a gold, like a gold plating on it, but it's very thin, very transparent. So when you get in, you don't see it, just look out like a regular glass. But when the sun, and from the outside, the whole building looks like it's gold. So they've done that on the windows and on the beams, the walls. And that isn't amazing that what people can do. And God already said it was going to be, because the street of the city is gold. Interesting thing about that, what that gold does is it helps in heat control and air conservation. Kind of interesting. If a man can create earthly buildings like this to reflect the glory of earthly sun, think about what God can do in this New Jerusalem. Streets of gold. And the interesting thing about gold, and, we were talking yesterday in the conversation we had, that somebody said, well, they found a 6-pound chunk of gold up in north San Francisco area, somewhere in there. No, somewhere in California recently.
Jamestown.
Where?
Jamestown area.
Okay. Anyway, that 6-pound chunk of gold sold for $400,000
Wow.
in San Francisco. But that's about this big, I think, so I'll show a picture of somebody holding it. Remember when Solomon was king? Gold was just everywhere. And silver was not even important. But this city, the buildings are going to be made of gold. The streets are going to be made of gold. How much gold? God must like it. The city was pure gold, like clear glass. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. Revelation. Gold symbolizes purity, and the holy walk of the pure, the holiness of purity will pervade this eternal city. I'm going to stop there, but we'll continue next week. Okay. That's How Great Thou Art. Page 3. Page 3. How Great Thou Art. Perfect one to go with this, I think. You probably know this. Page 3 is right after 2. I Thank you for being a God that cares and loves us. Thank you for Jesus. It's in His name we pray. Amen.